I want to get to that point that I also become like a badass at an older age, and I also want to continue. So I'm filming this outside, right? And no one's here, and it's dark, and I don't see anything but darkness. So I'm literally looking at darkness right now. Whatever. So I hope nothing creepy comes out because I'm afraid of the dark. But talking to Dan Severn, right? I mean, he's one of those few martial artists who have started really, really early on in their lives and have continued to do the sport in such a long time. So he started amateur wrestling in high school. And then from high school, he did amateur wrestling in college. And meanwhile, he was in college, he did some judo and also some Russian sambo. And then eventually he moved on to pro wrestling and then MMA fighting. So he's always done a bunch of sports throughout his life, and he's a very healthy man, as you can see. I mean, he's 63 years old and he's still doing the sport. And one thing that he did mention in the podcast was that besides the fact that he's one of those few men that do the sport for a long time, like, he can keep an intellectual conversation. And so, I mean, it is true. I mean, you guys know that if you get punched in the face a lot and you get punched in the head a lot, I mean, look at boxers, you know, not to shame nobody in the boxing world or anything, but you know that if you get hit significantly in the head, you'll end up with some type of health complications when you get old. And he doesn't have any of those, and it's great. And I was very inspired again. Like, I want to do this for a long time, but then when it comes to that, the most important thing when trying to do a sport or different sports for a long time is making sure that we train smart, that we train effectively. Whenever I drill with Taz, like, we drill, we spar, but we're not trying to take each other's head off. Like, he hits me and I know he's stronger than I am. Like, you know, he's 20 pounds heavier than I am, and you know, he's a stronger guy. Like, it's obvious. But because I know he's stronger than I am, I'm not gonna try to take his head off, because first of all, he's been training for more than 11 years, right? Right, Tess? I hope. Like, he's been training for such a long time. And then, so he's adding skill plus strength and power. Like, I'm not gonna try to do all that shit. You know, I'm gonna use my skills. I'm gonna use my speed against them. So I am not gonna try to out-strong him, because I'm not gonna be that person. And at the same time, like, I wanna get good at the sport, and I wanna train smart, where I continue to improve my strengths and continue to work on them. Taz and I were talking about how he made a post the other day on Instagram, and he posted how when he first started MMA, he was really fast in a certain boxing combo that he posted. And then now he posted the same boxing combo and it's not the same because he lost a lot of his speed. So that happens sometimes when we don't really focus on our strengths as much as we should. As much as we focus on our weaknesses, we should also focus on our strengths. So now that I want to continue to do the sport for a long time, I'm focusing on making sure that I continue to build on my strengths, and I also continue to drill smart, you know, fight smart. I'm not gonna try to always knock his head out every time we spar. I'm not always gonna try to do all that, like all the crazy stuff and go super hard all the time, because it's stupid, first of all. Like, at least for me, like, you wanna do efficient. You know, it's like when we study, we don't study every fucking day. Like, we study effectively by taking breaks. That's how I used to do it in school. It's the same thing with now. I train, I take my rest, my rest days are like, for example, today's Saturday, today's my rest day, and then I go back at it again. And so it comes down to the balance stuff. And now that I have the freedom to set my schedule exactly how I want it to be, this is where I communicate with Kaz, and we both establish like our training sessions. And I've talked about it before, like, because I want to continue to do the sport for a super long time, and I also want to be like 60 something 70 something year old badass martial artist. Like, I want to do that shit, like I want to get to the point where I am old and I can still keep up with the youngins. Like right now, I'm young, but when I get old, I still want to keep up with y'all. Like I want to make sure that I know my stuff and I can do the stuff. Like, I don't want to be like 7 years old and with all this fucking limitations, because first of all, I mean, the history in my family, like, we have some knee problems and some, like, a bunch of issues, arthritis and stuff like that. Like, I don't want to go through that. And so when I was in high school, I had an instructor in my JROTC, and he was very, very active, and he was in his 60s, I remember. He was one of those people that inspired me to be active, because besides the fact that he was one of those instructors that were sarcastic, and they were sarcastic because I was actually a pretty lazy person. I mean, it's not that different from now, but he used to call me out a lot on my stuff. And when I was being lazy, he would call me out. And when we used to, like, PT or physical training at school, he would be very, very pushy. And that was because I'm sure he believed in me back in the day. Back in the day, I used to think like he just didn't like me. But I'm pretty sure that he did it for a good cause, and I know he did it off of belief in me. He was in his 60s back in the day, and it was crazy because when we used to train and run for 2-3 miles, all of us in a group, he used to keep up with us. And even at the end of the run, he was like nothing. Like he just did like a normal walk. For him, it was nothing, and so I used to be amazed, like, how the hell is this man so active and so healthy? And him as an instructor was very inspiring to me. And I always wanted something like that for myself. Like, I've always said, you know what, when I get old, I want to be active. And I also see my dad. My dad is one of those people that he still runs, he still bikes, he still takes a lot of walks, and he's also in his 60s. So that's another thing that, as a Latino individual, we have a lot of like honestly, we have a lot of history of like medical conditions, and I don't want to fall into the same category, because now that I know I can do better, now that I've seen it from Dan Severn, I know I can do better. I have role models like my dad, like Dan Severn, and everybody that is older, like my instructors back in the day. I think about them, and then I see myself, and it's like I want to get to that point that I also become like a badass at an older age, and I also want to continue the sport like I do now. I mean, it's not going to be the same intensity,